Today, we share 4 incredible stories of people healing themselves using the power of imagination and belief. If you're on your own healing journey, may these inspire you to unlock the power within.
Story 1. Healed myself with the law of assumption. I've experienced many smaller successes with the law of assumption, but this story is by far my favorite and the most impactful in my life. It came at a time when I was still a beginner, struggling to maintain trust in the unseen. I hope sharing this inspires you as it solidified my belief in the law. In December 2022, I discovered Neville Goddard and the law of assumption after a breakup. Like many, I initially focused on manifesting my ex back, a story for another time. Um, as a healthy woman in my early 20s, I had no major health concerns apart from sports injuries during my time as a college athlete. Um, One day earlier this year, I woke up with dizziness, thinking it was due to lack of sleep or too much caffeine. But when the dizziness persisted and worsened over a week, blurring my vision, causing nausea, and making me stumble like I was perpetually drunk, I decided to visit urgent care. The doctor casually dismissed it as probably just vertigo and prescribed steroids. But instead of improving, my condition spiraled out of control. Um, my symptoms became unbearable. I would lose consciousness, experience extreme nausea, and drop an unhealthy amount of weight. I lost clumps of hair, endured severe migraines, and faced random lapses in memory. My extremities would go numb, and I'd wake up at night with bursts of pain or dizziness. Doctors were baffled. Every test came back normal. I kept hearing, "You're so young. This is so strange." I had to stop working, missed significant family events, and became severely depressed. For 2 months, I lived in misery, unable to imagine a life like this. In my frustration and despair, I had stepped away from practicing the law, but with no answers from doctors and nowhere else to turn, I decided to try again. I made a simple choice to trust that I was already healthy. I didn't pressure myself with elaborate techniques because I was too exhausted to visualize or affirm endlessly. Instead, I gently reminded myself I am already healthy and trusted that this reality existed and would manifest. And when I wanted to complain, I acknowledged my pain, but reassured myself that my desired reality was mine. It was already finished, waiting to unfold. Uh, I trusted that my 3D reality would catch up. One day I woke up not entirely healed, but my symptoms had dramatically improved overnight. I could eat, walk, and function without passing out. Over the next few days, I continued to recover. Months later, I'm back to full health. Every major test came back clear, leaving doctors utterly baffled. They had suspected meningitis, brain tumors, and seizures, but my recovery had no medical explanation. I know without a doubt it was the law of assumption. To anyone struggling, no matter what you desire, health, love, or success, you can and will manifest it. Trust yourself, trust the law, and deny your senses. Creation is finished. Sending love and blessings to all.
Story 2, my healing success. Ever since early last year, my little fingers would go numb, whenever I bent my arm for an extended period of time or leaned on my elbow. It turns out the nerves near my elbow were getting squashed because whenever I straightened my arm, the feeling would come back. There's an official term for this, but I can't remember what it's called. I wouldn't say it was debilitating, but it was definitely inconvenient. I had to constantly straighten my arms, sleep with my arms extended, and avoid leaning my head against my hand. From my online research at the time, I found two options: physiotherapy or surgery to move the nerve. Since it wasn't a major health concern during the pandemic, I decided to just live with it. Fast forward to about 3 weeks ago. I finished reading The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. It's a relatively easy read, though it leans heavily on religious themes. The biggest takeaway from me was similar to what Neville Goddard teaches, that we are God, that God exists within us and in everything, as everything originates from God or consciousness. In all honesty, I didn't do much. I meditated for just a day or two and fully accepted the belief that there can't be any disease in me. I affirm that I am perfect and in perfect health because I am God and God is perfect. No visualization, just an unwavering acceptance of this truth. About a week later, I noticed something amazing. My little fingers no longer became numb when I leaned on my elbows or bent my arm for extended periods. I was dumbfounded. I hadn't consciously manifested this healing, yet here I was 2 weeks later with the issue completely gone. I've tested this repeatedly over the last 2 weeks. I've leaned on my hand for long stretches, held my phone in bed for 30 plus minutes, a task I previously had to alternate arms for, and nothing. No numbness. It's gone. I'm fine now. No physiotherapy, no surgery, just acceptance and faith in my innate perfection.
Story 3. How I manifested away a 10-year-old disease. Is diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis in 2014. To give a basic rundown of how it affects someone: low energy, slow metabolism, unhealthy skin, brittle hair, and heightened anxiety. The thyroid regulates so much in our bodies that losing its proper function can be profoundly detrimental. In February, I went for a routine checkup at my doctor's office. She ran a comprehensive blood panel, and when she returned, she looked concerned. She told me my thyroid condition was at its worst, with hormone levels dangerously low. She warned me it might deteriorate further, possibly within a month. At the time, I felt perpetually exhausted, trapped in a fog of fatigue. My skin and hair looked dull and unhealthy, visible symptoms of my declining thyroid function. For a moment, I was afraid of how much worse this disease could get when it already affected every part of my daily life. But then I paused. I reminded myself, this disease was something I had manifested. And if I had the power to manifest it, I could also unmanifest it. I recalled a story from Neville Goddard about a 26-year-old man who, despite being gravely ill, transformed his health through the power of imagining a miraculous recovery. Inspired, I decided to apply the same principle. I started by cleaning up my mental diet and uncovering the root cause of this manifestation. 2 patterns emerged. I was constantly repeating, "I'm so exhausted," and "I don't have the energy for this," both mentally and verbally. Deep down, I harbored a general hatred toward my body and myself. Once I identified these negative thought patterns, I made an immediate decision to reverse them. I began speaking kindly and lovingly about myself, both internally and out loud. I envisioned my desired outcome vividly, immersing myself in the scene of my success. My doctor had already scheduled a follow-up appointment, so I used this as my focal point. I imagined walking into her office, having my blood drawn and waiting for her to return with the results. In my mind, her expression was one of astonishment. She said, "I don't understand this. Your levels look excellent, fully functioning." I imagined her scheduling another test to confirm these miraculous results. Finally, I pictured myself leaving the office, calling my sister with the amazing news. I replayed this scene repeatedly all day, every day for a week. Whenever doubt crept in, I reminded myself, everything works out in my favor. At night, I fell asleep with a deep sense of gratitude, confident that I was already free of the disease. During the day, I spoke about how energetic I felt, even joking about having too much energy. I lived as though the healing had already happened. A week passed, and my faith remained unwavering. By the time of my appointment, I already knew my body was healed. Everything unfolded just as I had imagined, down to the doctor's facial expression. She looked at me in disbelief and scheduled a follow-up just to confirm it wasn't some bizarre anomaly. She said, "Your levels are fully functioning. Everything looks normal." But I wasn't surprised. I had already experienced this moment in my mind countless times. Since then, my skin has cleared up, my hair is healthier, and I am no longer a perpetually tired person. At my 2-month follow-up, my levels remained excellent. Proof this was no fluke. The body is revisible. I feel amazing.
Story 4. How I healed my eczema. When I was 26 years old, 4 years ago, I developed eczema on my hands and legs. It happened during the same week as what I believe was a Kundalini awakening. I guess a lot of old stories and unresolved emotions I had been holding on to were stuck inside me and surfaced as eczema. I tried everything: meditation, retreats, breathwork, and pretty much every technique you can think of: EFT, chakra clearing, and even energy healing. A few months after discovering Neville Goddard's teachings, everything began to improve. Not just the eczema, but my entire perspective. I started raising my awareness and asking myself, why do I have this eczema? What story or feelings am I holding on to? That's when I realized I lacked self-love and the freedom to be my authentic self. I had been incredibly judgmental toward myself. Every day I worked on elevating my self-concept. I cultivated more love and a deeper sense of freedom. I started feeling as though I was in love with life rather than locked away in my own heart. As this freedom grew within me, I noticed significant changes. I remained mindful of all my interactions with family, in business, and in everyday life. Whenever something made me feel small, insignificant, or lesser, I shifted my perspective and aligned myself with the idea of being a free, authentic, and loving being. I kept at it. It was difficult at first, but it became easier over time. Instead of trying to release the negative feelings by dwelling on them, which only swamps your consciousness with those emotions, I acknowledged them, saw them for what they were, and then focused my attention on cultivating feelings of well-being, love, healing, empowerment, freedom, and abundance. And then it just went away. The eczema faded, day by day. It wasn't easy, it was disgusting, and I had to let go of the shame. I stopped caring about it, and sent love to both the eczema and my past self. I revised old stories, reframed my self-image, and kept moving forward. And it worked. I hope this helps someone out there, because let's be honest, doctors will often say, it's for life, or something similar. But that doesn't have to be true.